Welcome. I want to welcome you officially to the 16th Canadian EdTech AI Summit. We've innovated. We threw in AI. This started in a classroom at York University 16 years ago with 50 people, with a vision of trying to bring the ecosystem of K-12 and higher ed together to inspire each other. And I think in the room here, there might be attendees who first came and have been at least one EdTech Summit. Chris Bessie? Okay, at least one. 5. Peter, I think he's been to everyone, presented at probably everyone. 15, anyone 15? Like, that'd be a big prize. You get the Blue Jays VIP prize pack if you've been to 15. So we've got at least 10. Yeah, Peter, you get the prize pack tonight. Okay, but it's been a journey, and it's 25 years in Mindshare Learning Media this year. Let's have a round of applause. 25 years. Do I regret leaving York University in administration? Cushy job. I would be retired next year. But no. It's been a challenge. I launched Kevin O'Leary's company for him, the Learning Company, Reader Rabbit, Kid Picks, Oregon Trail, and then pivoted to EdTech. Before it was EdTech. So it's 27 years in EdTech, and we've got some remarkable leaders here. The theme of our summit, empowering human-centered, sustainable learning in an AI-inspired world. While we're embracing AI, we're not fully into AI. As we know, there's perils and there's challenges, and this is really about demystifying AI and challenging you to think about how it fits within your ecosystem. And by the time you leave, I want you to have 3 solid, actionable takeaways. And one of the coolest things we're doing is we're going to crowdsource, because the smartest person in the room is the room. Our final chapter of the C21 Task Force report that we're going to submit to the Canadian government. And Friday is the deadline for submissions for that. So we're leaning on you to give us real input. Hashtag EdTechCan25. Take photos, share. The more you share, the more you can win prizes. We have lots of prizes to give away. But before we get into the panel conversation, I'm going to introduce Dr. Brett Caldwell. He leads the Masters in Sustainability program here at the University of Toronto, Mississauga. We've partnered with them in the past. It's a fabulous program. And sustainable implementation of AI is something that I'm passionate about, and it's not an easy thing to do. Sustainability from a business perspective, from an environmental perspective, think about it. Every time you prompt ChatGPT, apparently it takes a bottle of water to give you a response. I'm not sure how accurate that is. If anyone has harder data, I'd love to hear about it. But we need to think about what's going on behind the scenes as well. So, and helping prepare our next generation leaders. There's a lot about demystifying that's essential, because if it's not aligned with your college, university, faculty of ed, or K-12 institution from the top down, if there's no alignment. Tom D'Amico here. Tom, he'll be speaking tomorrow. Ottawa Catholic has done a fabulous job in articulating a vision and having everyone kind of buy into it. It's a process, right? And hard fun, as my professor, when I was doing my master's at Pepperdine, would say, it's hard fun doing your thesis, right? So we're going to have some hard fun. And with that, I'm going to call upon Dr. Brett Caldwell to give a land acknowledgement and greetings from his program. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Some of you have already heard from me, so I'll keep it short. I'm Professor Brett Caraway. I'm the director of the Master of Science in Sustainability Management program here in the Institute for Management and Innovation. I'm going to do a quick land acknowledgement. We wish to acknowledge this land of which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. Today, this meeting place is still home to many Indigenous people, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work and meet on this land. We are in the Innovation Complex. This is the Rotunda. For any of you television buffs, you may recognize this. This has been a courtroom in The Handmaid's Tale. It has also been a training gymnasium for superheroes in The Boys. So if you are looking at this place thinking this looks slightly familiar, it might be because you've seen it before. Anyway, we are very happy to welcome you here, not only to the Innovation Complex, but to the University of Toronto Mississauga campus. We're quite proud of this campus. We're proud of our students here and the various programs that we have. If you want to know more about the materiality of AI, how much water is involved, how much electricity is involved, how much the utility rates are potentially going to go up because of all of the data center construction. If you want to know about the critical minerals and rare earth elements that go into making NVIDIA chips, come talk to me. Running a booth over there, I'll tell you all about the materiality of AI, and I'll be even more happy to tell you why you should send your children here to join our Masters of Science and Sustainability Management program. Anyway, enjoy the conference.
Thank you so much, Brett. All right. Charting the course of AI in humanity, building trust, equity, and sustainability in education. I'm honored to be your moderator and chair of this summit here. Each panelist will have 2 to 3 minutes to offer their reflection on their AI journey and evolution, followed by a Q&A for me and the audience. So with that, the Fireside Chat featuring our presenters and guiding questions. We've got Maxime Jean-Louis, Contact North CEO and President. Thank you for joining us. Let's have a round of applause for Maxime. He's been at the forefront of digital learning across Canada's most remote regions. How has AI helped you advance equity and inclusion in online learning while maintaining the human connection at the core of education is going to be what he speaks to. Lisa Matthias, Vice President, Capacity Building and Inclusion. Pretty cool title, ICTC. And Lisa, your work focuses on building digital capacity and inclusivity pathways into the future workforce. How do you see AI reshaping the skills agenda, and what strategies are essential to ensuring equity and representation in AI in education? Fascinating. And employment. Ryan Donaghy, we're honored to have Ryan Donaghy, Deputy Minister of New Brunswick Education and Early Childhood. And Ryan, from his provincial leadership perspective, will be speaking about their approach, first province in Canada to have a vision of bringing everyone together. And I hearken back, does anyone remember SchoolNet and the Information Highway? Anybody? Yeah, so I'm advocating for the AI Information Highway because we need the federal government to lean in and support us in helping kickstart this journey that we're on. Dr. Steve Jordans is going to join us on the phone. We had technical issues, so I'm going to be calling him and using the microphone. We've done that once. I think we did that at our first summit. Peter Singh, Executive Officer, IT Services, my alma mater, the Toronto District School Board. And Peter's, it is the largest school board, and he'll be talking about how leveraging AI responsibly to build trust and improve learning outcomes to ensure sustainability in technology infrastructure and decision making. Last but not least, my co-chair of the summit, Superintendent of Innovation, Artificial Intelligence, and Pathways, Bernadette Smith. And Bernadette has been a leader in integrating AI with purpose and pedagogy, and she'll be talking to us about the impact that they've been making with their innovation projects and the culture, creating a culture of trust and continuous learning among educators and students. Are we all set? We've set the stage. up first. Maxim, you look like you're ready to go. Okay. Welcome back. You were just in China.
Yes.
Okay.
Just came back.
Okay. Should I be letting someone else go first? And you want to right now? Okay. Peter Singh.
I thought I was the fifth up. Thank you, Robert. Good afternoon, everyone. Good to see familiar faces and also to see some of the newer folks who are in tech sector itself too. As Robert introduced me related to TDSB. Yes, we are the largest board in the country. That doesn't mean every bleeding edge technology happens at TDSB. Just want to put that one off the table first. Some of the key things around the AI work has been just convincing the leaders that we needed to be in this space. That was quite a bit of journey to just get a buy-in, because we as leaders sometimes look at everything that comes through from the risk angle. How much risk are we putting this organization in? So that was quite a bit of work to get those things going, and we didn't want to take a path where we say we need a policy on it. No, we just wanted to provide guardrails to teachers so they can actually get on with it. I can tell you 16,000 full-time teachers, 9,000 occasional teachers, that's a team of literally 25,000. How do you actually make an impact on such a bigger group? So you need to actually start layering and building those plans. So the first thing was you have to give them permission. It's allowed. We were not in that space that, oh my God, block it, ban it. But those emails did come into my inbox saying, Peter, this new AI thing, could you block it? Kids are already in it, and I have no idea what to do with it. Block it. And my mind went right back to when we just started the www space. That's what people are saying and telling and asking. And we took a position, so no, we're not blocking it. It's an opportunity now to bring in a new platform, a tool, very powerful tool. In this case, this is a tool we have never ever thought about it, how much impact it will have. We still don't know. We're just starting the journey itself too. So it's opportunity to offer a learning stance, not a block or shutdown stance. 2% of the teachers never wait for us to tell them what to do. They take off. These are your innovator leaders, right? And the goal is how you tap into that key resource, help us to build, the remaining folks needs to come on board. So how do you build that capacity? So there's certain programs in place at TDSB to help us to do that. The other piece, we also looked at it. Teachers love taking AQ courses because they show up as credentials on them. So that was another path we took. How do we quickly do that? And believe it or not, the moment we announced it, it was full. They have to double, triple, and add more seats to that itself. So there is hunger for learning and growth there itself too. Our vendor partners come at us with a lot of information. And it's important for us to know, but we at the same time, we're also looking for guidance. Like any other area, we also struggle in-house. We don't have in-house AI expertise. So you're looking at folks who are actually doing it on a part-time basis. So from a leadership perspective, we need to think about it. Where's that in-house capacity? You can't just bring people in, do the work, and they leave. Nobody in the shop knows how to sustain that ecosystem. So we needed to actually layer that piece. And in the days when we still are seeing the budgets are being cut or dollars are shrinking in public sector or in education, this is just another ask being added to the top. So as leaders, that's another challenge we're facing. How do we actually continue this journey at the same time, deliver on the core services we are asked to do it? So this is an add-on piece right now. But the goal is how do we actually normalize this piece? And that's where building capacity at classroom level, teacher level, make sure the tools you pick quickly, announce them, let folks know that these are the key tools you should be leveraging out there. And we have been playing in both spaces, the Microsoft ecosystem and the Google ecosystem. So those are the two areas we are heavily focused on to build capacity. And we have leveraged the tools they have launched on it. And Robert talked about building capacity, building data centers, and how much water consumption is needed. And we needed to start looking at those layers also, what kind of impact this technology will have over the years when it even comes to climate. So we were at Peel District School Board. They held an amazing day of learning this week or last week? This week, forgot. So, and there was a student panel, and the student panel really blew us away. I was blown away by it. And the young lady was actually asking and challenging us, what does this have impact on the Earth and the global warming and everything else? That we can't just take on something because marketing has done an amazing job. We need to really look at it, how it's going to impact us and the future generation. So that was a takeaway for me, that we need to start thinking about sustainability model also on AI side of things. But huge opportunity, building capacity, bringing on the tools, and helping teachers to actually learn in those spaces and play in those spaces. And that's some of the work happening at TDSB. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you so much, Peter. Maxime Jean-Louis.
Thank you, Robert. Robert used 3 words, which is trust, equity, and sustainability. And I was trying to make some sense of that. So what I did was I said, what are the opposites of those 3 words? And I would argue that the opposite of trust is not doubt, but it is fear. It is the fear of people when they cannot adopt something, when they don't want to look foolish, when they don't want to fail. So therefore, I will put to you that the opposite of trust is not doubt, it is fear. Second word he threw at us was equity. The opposite of equity is not inequality. It is in fact exclusion. It is when the systems, AI and others, we exclude people. So therefore we should keep that in mind. The third word he used was sustainability. And the opposite of sustainability is not collapse, it is exhaustion, when you are exhausted. So I really would like us to keep those 3 words in mind, which is fear, exclusion, and exhaustion, because when we talk about AI, we talk about adoption. And these are the 3 major obstacles. I work with the marginalized communities that are very isolated in helping them access post-secondary education using online. So therefore, those 3 words mean a lot to me. So, Robert, thanks for those 3 words. I play them against you by going with the opposite.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Maxim. Ryan Donahue.
Thanks, Robert. Thanks for having me. So Robert mentioned that in New Brunswick, we've been on a bit of a journey, and we've done it with our school districts. So we've done it at the provincial level. And the way that this came about, I've been in the job for 2.5 years as deputy minister, and one of my first days, somebody came into my office and they had this bright, shiny technology that they wanted to implement across the province. And it was an AI-backed math tutor. And sure, it sounded great, but the next day there would be another, and the next day there would be another. So we took the approach of bringing all the partners together and putting the guardrails together so that we view each piece of technology through that lens. We don't limit what we are going to use. We empower the teachers to use it in a careful way. And quite frankly, there's a lot of free options that work quite nicely for teachers if you're not inputting personal data into it. Some of the paid versions aren't great if you're putting that data into it, depending on what they're using the data for either. In passing, probably shouldn't be uploading PLPs to AI. Might have had to put a stop to that real quick this summer. But that's the approach that we've taken. We've now held two AI summits, if you will. We'll be doing a third. We put out the guidelines and the framework, and the districts have taken that and gone the step further of identifying some of the technologies and empowering and teaching their teachers how to use it. And just a small anecdote, we had a session of vice principals recently, and I walked into the AI session, and all of a sudden they were talking about using Canva to do a newsletter and so I stopped them. I said, like, okay, I know I walked in, but I want the real. What are you really using it? And if that's all you're using it for, then we're in big trouble. Because the tools are there. We talk about equity. I think it can be the great equalizer if we use it properly and we put the technology in the hands of those who need it, and we use it in the right way. And that's really what we're striving to do in New Brunswick. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Ryan. Lisa Matthias, over to you.
Thank you so much, Robert. It's really nice to be here. And what an exciting time to be in with AI transforming education in lightning speed. But I wanted to talk a little bit about how we avoid setting us back in terms of inclusion. And so I think the presentation by Amira was amazing to see what education, the power of education, and the power of AI from an education lens, transforming how students can have personalized tutors. The other examples would be for translating from different languages. There's all kinds of really powerful tools, especially for neurodiverse learners, as we talked about in the last session. But at the same time, when you look at learners who are in the north or other communities who don't even have access to broadband, this could really create even further gaps in terms of equity and inclusion. And so I think that we should look at AI as a tool, as a resource, as a collaborator. It's not going to change everything. It really is important to have decision makers like the ones here today to really contemplate how we welcome in this age of transformation in the most inclusive way possible. And so I think that when we look at making broadband accessible to everybody in Canada, that should be a very high priority, in my opinion. I think we need to work with the teachers, as we've talked about, to make sure that they can use AI as a collaborator and that they have all of the resources that they need to really understand how to teach using AI and also how to teach about AI. And certainly I'm really happy to hear that Peter didn't block AI, but rather, is empowering the students to have that tool in their toolkit. And finally, I think that we need to really think about how the student is going to be preparing themselves for the workforce. And so I think that AI is not a negotiable, it's actually a must-have. And so we really need to work together to empower all of our students across the country to be able to embrace this really exciting time when we don't even know what jobs are going to be out there for these students, but really give them the confidence to try it for themselves, to break ground in terms of new areas that we might not have even considered AI could do, and to really empower them to create the future for us in a very sustainable way as well, as we talked about. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Bernadette Smith, over to you.
Thanks so much. It's really exciting to be here and just listening to colleagues here talking about AI in education. And when I follow Peter, I always say, we're the second largest district in the country. And so we serve many, many students, and we too are on the journey. And, recently I was learning a bit, and I want to learn more from folks here as well, that computing usually, according to Moore's law, doubles every 18 to 24 months. Whereas AI capabilities double about 5 to 6 months. And so I think back, and you've got me thinking back to about 3 years ago. And Dwayne Matthews, anybody know Dwayne Matthews? He's the evangelist for AI. He came and spoke with us a bit in the Peel District School Board, and he said, buckle up. It's happening, and you really need to embrace this now before it gets away from us, similar to what's happened with social media and our students. We really need to see how is it that we're going to leverage and embrace the use of AI in order for us to really move with the times and meet society where it is, rather than becoming the archaic system that often education becomes because we're lagging behind. So it's really interesting too, because we had a session at that time. My question was, what are your impactful lessons? So I'm going to go there. And for us in the Peel District School Board, we're very fortunate. You'll meet our director, Rashmi Swaroop, tomorrow. She will be doing a keynote here, and she enabled us. We talk about leaders, and what we do is we set the conditions for learning. And what our esteemed director did is she allowed us to move forward with this. And I remember leaning over to her during a conference that our Empowering Modern Learning team was putting on, and saying to her, this was about 3 years ago when ChatGPT came out and all of that, don't block it. We can't put our heads in the sand. And she was, I remember thinking about it. She thinks very deeply about things. And as we started to explore, we thought, no, what we need to do is develop strategy. And I know that Robert has shared this with me as well often as a mentor, that strategy is critical when you're moving forward here, not haphazardly, but really thinking through a measured, calculated approach. So we have in the Peel District School Board a dedicated team of people, and some of them are here. Put up your hands. Yep. We have our Empowering Modern Learning team, and they're going to be here tomorrow as well. They are dedicated EdTech innovation teachers that we have working directly in schools, and the training for them, they are essentially train the trainer kind of model. They work and they train with industry partners, business partners, post-secondary institutions, and we have York University, K2I, Lassonde School of Engineering here, Lisa Cole. We partner and build trust that way with our partners in order to learn from them and with them, because we are the ones that are applying in the field. So that's one of the big learnings that came through for us. And as we were thinking about this some more, we thought we need a guidance, not a policy, something that would be iterative, that we can keep changing. And even just now, we started looking at it and thought, oh my, it's already obsolete. And we just started creating this 2 years ago. We have a guidance that we took a lot from across the world, what was happening at the time, what governments are looking at this, and it informed our guidance. And it has 13 sections, and tomorrow you'll hear more about it, and it includes confidentiality, privacy, including pedagogy, assessment, and so on. And we started to mobilize this, and we've gotten to the point where we've created resources that stem from this guidance, and then in turn we use it to develop our professional learning and building capacity of our educators. And then there's our students. And I want you to put your hands up right now, because they're in the audience, and I was so happy when I came on the stage and saw them. These students, when they were in grade 10, taught us how they were using AI with their phenomenal principal, Lola Gale, who you'll hear from tomorrow too. Again, an educator, a leader that is enabling students to experiment. They created an app, and they're going to be here to talk to you more as well, where they saw that there's a lot of newcomers to our school. We've got over 70 extracurricular activities. How are they going to know what's available in the school? Create an app. Use AI to customize their experiences, and so on. They've gone on to create other ones, including homework help and so on. Went off to venture capital companies, got $10,000 to support them with their, how much more? Okay, he's like, more than that. Okay, more than that. Money to start their own startup and so on. So part of the pride in Peel District School Board is also listening and learning from our students. The most recent example, we have one student at one of our high schools, and he's created an AI-powered helmet that essentially looks at brain waves and detects early signs of Alzheimer's. I said, please put it on me, please. Early signs of Alzheimer's. And he's gone to Dubai. He's won National Here Science Contest. He's gone to Dubai. He's getting international recognition for this. And so again, AI, often in education, we're thinking ChatGPT, Copilot. We're a Microsoft Enterprise School, so our board. So of course we focus on Copilot, but it goes so much further than that. We need to see this opportunity as a catalyst for inquiry through interdependency of the various subjects that we're teaching and learning about, and through that interdisciplinary approach to learning. And what we do in the Peel District School Board is we pool whatever funding that we can, and we call it the Leading Education Innovation Funds or projects, and we scaffold for our educators, our schools, opportunity to identify what is it that you want to innovate, to think through what are the outcomes of that learning. So purpose before tools. It's not which tools do I want to use for the learning. No, it's what do you want to accomplish with your students, and maybe they will tell you as well often, and then work backward from there, the good old backward design model, and identify through a very succinct process how it is that they will get there, and the scaffolded approach through our EdTech innovation team. And so by focusing on that and advocating for that kind of budget, for that kind of time within a district, has really demonstrated huge impact across our district. And some of you would have gone to Elm Drive and Judith Nyman Secondary School and had a glimpse of what is happening with grade 8s, grade 7s, and lower grades as well, and within high schools and the skilled trades. I want to end with the examples here by just referring to my notes here. We need to pause to ask why and how AI enhances learning and human potential, and not just use it blindly. There's somebody called Vanessa Camilleri, who many of you will not have heard of. She is from Malta, where I'm from. She is there at the university within an AI institute there, and she's going to be one of our panelists coming in virtually. And you can follow her on LinkedIn, and it's profound what she posts. She says, we risk becoming curators of outputs rather than cultivators of insight. Learning in its truest form depends on friction, on the slow moments of uncertainty. And those students that were on the panel with our esteemed director from Halton, Curtis Ennis, at the conference, it was last week, at the P-Code conference, they said learning should be uncomfortable. It should challenge you. And so that is something that we need to remember. And while we may no longer be the sole authors of knowledge, we remain the authors of meaning. And that is what separates us as humans from the AI. We ourselves still own the kind of meaning that we're making from the experiences that we're engaging with, whether it be with other humans or with AI.
Thank you so much. Let's have a round of applause to your panelists. Okay, so now I'm going to open the panelists' floor, and I'm going to fire a few questions at you. Okay, so the first one is, how do we balance innovation and ethics in AI adoption and education? Does anyone want to take that on? How do we balance innovation and ethics in an AI adoption in education?
For me, that work never stopped. Like, when I look at it, innovation's always been in education, so I don't see this one as something new. We've been always doing this one, so, but the opportunity is huge as we're just learning what kids are able to do, what they're able to deliver on, and everyone who's in education can actually leverage this ecosystem now, just take their own personal growth to making an impact in the classroom and the outcomes itself too. So for me, we don't need something new in those two spaces. I think those things are all in place already. The guardrails has been in place, and we just needed to leverage it and just be open about what's the art of possibility exist. And innovation is not something you pick it up off the shelf. It's the environment you create, the culture you build, and it does not happen overnight. So it literally investment in people and giving them time and space and creating those environments for them to thrive. And we just heard example from Peel with the kids given an opportunity to actually go outside the norm and able to bring funding in and launch something itself too. That didn't happen overnight, didn't happen in a bubble. It was an environment that was created. I think that's, to me, is we need to think about those out-of-the-box thoughts and ideas. What else is possible? The world is shrinking, and with AI, it's moving at a speed we don't know at this stage, but it's moving very fast. Everywhere I go, I listen to folks, and I feel we're always behind. We're always catching up. There's something new in the market. How are we going to do that? How are we going to get there itself too? So there is an opportunity now that we want to challenge ourselves, and that needs to be translated into challenges in the classroom too. Out of my 3 kids, 2 are teachers. The one in high school last night marking, he's telling me, Dad, this is all AI dump. I can literally see that the student didn't even modify anything in there, right? So that is one of the concerns, that if a teacher leverages AI to create an assignment, a rubric is done by AI. The student is now leveraging AI to deliver on that ask. The teacher has another app now to assess that content. And teachers are asking me, can I actually create something that AI can take those results and automatically create a report card? And I'm just thinking, where is that critical thinking in this whole cycle? Right? So those are some of the red flags in my own head. I think we need to rethink about it. What are we asking kids to really do? Right? So teachers have presented different ideas where actually the AI becomes a starting point, and they have to analyze it. I think end of the day, if we think about all the models we're going to build, it's human-centric, and human is still playing that critical role in the outcomes, I think we will be safe. But if we let the remote control somewhere else, the remote control is something that only talks in zeros and ones. We don't talk in zeros and ones. I think that's something we need to think about it, where we're heading. But opportunity is there. I also look at on the business side of things. When we talk about doing more with less, AI is one of those spaces we are looking at it, from cyber threat landscape to finance to business, school information systems, leveraging the data we actually have on students and informing teachers in a real-time fashion. Your assignment, did it really impact the kids? Who's struggling in what areas? You need to modify your next assignment because these 5 kids are struggling in this particular area. Can we now leverage AI to do those things in real time and empower the teachers with the data in their hands? So those are some of the things come to my mind when I look at through innovation. And to me, ethics are always in place in education. We have never moved away from it. Just because another technology tool has come into our life, we don't need to pivot and shift on that front. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter. Everyone's at a different place in their journey in implementing AI. And there's quite a number of leaders here over the next couple of days. What advice would you give to leaders embarking on their AI journey and their efforts to develop a strategy, demystify, storytell? Because storytelling is a big part of the journey, so that the vision filters from the top to the bottom and back up. I've heard of stories where, there's presentations at school levels on AI, and they get railroaded because nothing's coming from the top. So, and then there's a lot of resistors at the bottom because they don't understand what's coming at them. So, Bernadette, you look like you want to take that challenge on. So, over to you.
Sure. I think my first piece of advice would be to take a measured approach, not a fire hose kind of approach to AI. It's not about how fast you're going, but what's the purpose of use. I think about, even when we were talking about ethics, Doretta Hammond, and we in the Peel District School Board focus a great deal on culturally responsive and relevant pedagogy, and really understanding where is the divide that could be created when access is limited to some and not to others. Students on the panel last week reminded us, that with ChatGPT even, a membership may be $0 free, or you can pay $20, or you could pay $200 and get pro access. When then there is the UNESCO report that just recently came out, talking about the fact that only 2 countries really are running the show in terms of the largest AI companies that are happening, and that's China and the United States. Yes, there are many startups, there are many different companies that are happening, they're doing a lot of work across the country, but really, that's running the show. As well, I believe it's out of 7,000 languages, maybe about 10 are the most prominent in these. So you think about our multilingual learners, and you think about where and the poverty around the world and access to AI. Is this going to create a different kind of digital colonialism? Is this going to create greater divide as a society, as in our world? And so we need to think about this as we navigate forward. As well, in terms of education, the biggest shift that we see is we're turning from being the educators with the answers and being that sage on the stage, which we're all comfortable with because we know our content and we have lesson plans and expectations that we need to cover. However, the shift is now it's about questions and inquiry. And so in terms of advice to leaders, to educators that are looking to move forward with this is how are we shifting the mindset of educators, and how are we providing a great deal of professional learning and capacity building so that they themselves can get with the paradigm that is needed, because none of us, and I think somebody said this earlier as well, has that expertise. We weren't trained with that in Teachers College, and so this is something that we really need to focus on moving forward.
Thank you for that. Ryan, did you want to chime in perhaps from a leadership perspective?
Sure. I'll actually go to the classroom first, though. If you take the mindset that we're going to do things exactly the same and then we're shocked that somebody took AI and created the essay, well, shame on us. If we tell them and teach them how to use AI to come up with the initial idea and what prompts to use and so on, and then how to actually do the QA coming out of what's there, that's setting them up for success. So we do need to change the mindset of how we're going to go about teaching our students. But from, you were talking about how do we kind of roll this out, and doing it in a step-by-step process, knowing that we don't have all the answers, because it's going to change tomorrow. Whatever we think is the reality today, it's changing again. And so you go to those who are willing to put up their hands, some of the teachers in the back corner or some of the students here, and get them to teach us and to teach their peers and just grow that community. And it's going to do it organically, because this isn't going to go away.
Thank you. Peter Singh.
Just a quick thought. As leaders, be prepared that just because you send an email out, you make an announcement that things are going to happen. They don't. So, and one of the amazing directors I had an opportunity to work in the past, John Malloy, one of the things I picked up from him is, Peter, you got to repeat everything 10 times. That has been in my books too. You got to repeat it until people started repeating back to you. So part of this strategy, the things you're putting in place, make sure it's talked about at every table, everyone's on board, and it's the same common message that's being pushed. Wherever the gap is, people will fill that gap very quickly, and it will be their definition of what the work should be. So that's another intent. You have to keep in mind your message has to be strong. It has to be repeated over and over again before you start to see really outcomes in the classroom.
Thank you so much for that. Lisa, did you want to chime in? You look like you...
Yeah, maybe I'll give a shameless plug for ICTC. So a real circular moment for me was my son has learning disabilities, and I went to his high school principal, and I said, what's the school doing about AI, and how are you introducing cybersecurity? And they were like, we know that we need to do something, but we know where we're behind. And so I think the people on the stage here are the leaders, but there's a lot of people in Canada, there's a lot of schools in Canada that are just overwhelmed. Teachers are trying to do more with less. And so we, at ICTC, Information and Communications Technology Council, we're working with ministries of education, we're working with school boards, but we're also working directly with school principals. And so I felt really proud that I was able to go to the school and say, we have funding from the federal government, we can do all of this for free, we can come in, we can do PD days, we can do sessions for parents, we can do, like you tell us where you're at and we will meet you there. And there's some teachers that are really embracing AI and they're hungry and they can just run with our asynchronous content that we have online in a knowledge exchange hub. And then others are really resistant and like, I've been teaching for 30 years. I don't want somebody to come in and mess things up for me. I'm just gonna wait it out till my retirement and do the things that I want to do. And so we're not forcing them in. We're just trying to work with the people that are kind of in the middle and that, could benefit. And so I'm really proud that we were able to come into my own son's school and be able to shape, what AI and cybersecurity is going to look like in that school. And hopefully it will benefit my son, but even if not, it'll benefit, the kids that'll come after him.
Thank you for that. I suspect you're going to be deluged with emails after that comment about
please,
free.
Yeah. Anybody, any school that would like to have free education in terms of digital skills for your school, for your students, please come see me.
Amazing.
My colleague Shelby.
Shelby, hey Shelby. Maxime wanted to chime in on this.
I put this exactly the same question to some colleagues I'm working in China, and the answer was a very odd one. They said, do not see AI as a tool. Every teacher now has two learners, not one learner. One learner is the student, the other one learner is AI. And if the student sees AI as a companion where they are learning together, the question of ethics becomes very irrelevant in some ways, because there is a kind of a gamemanship and they adopt it and they don't think of cheating, they think of actually a companion. That was the answer I got in China.
Maxim, you've been very modest about your AI journey. You've been on this track for quite some time and we're an early mover. And talk to me about what inspired around Teach Online and the support GBTs that you create. Not GBTs, they're actual, how would you describe them? You have one for teachers, professors, career pathways. It's quite unique, and you've struck some remarkable partnerships in the process too. And share with us how many users.
Well, I don't want to.
No, but it just makes, I know you're very modest.
But I'll come at it, and I'll come at it in a slightly different way. I really think that we need to not look at ourselves as users of AI and as developers of products. The minute you do that, whether you are a teacher at a high school or a university or a college, it's a whole different dynamics, because then you are inventing the tool itself as you go forward. And you do have the skills to do that. The same way I'm saying that each teacher has two learners, not one learner. That's what we did. So on the premise that we don't want to be users, we want to invent products. And that's what we did. And I think I encourage each one of you to do exactly the same.
He's had millions of users. He's just being very modest, but it's teachonline.ca. Is that the...
Well, AI Tutor Pro has over 2 million interactions so far.
So there, you've got something for teachers, something for students, career pathways, exploration.
Yes, but I will again say to you, don't adopt too quickly. Don't set yourself as users. Set yourself as product developers. Canada needs that. The school boards need that. The colleges need that. The universities need that approach.
So I'm going off script a little bit. So we have a number of vendors here, both at the exhibits, in the audience. What advice do you give to vendors today in the age of AI and the speed at which things are pivoting? This
Yeah.
is really complicated.
Very simple. Ignore everybody here, go and sit with those 4 students and talk to them.
Great advice. Who else wants to chime in on that one? Because it's daunting. There's some mornings where I'll get up and I'll ask ChatGPT, what do I need to know today? What's the latest on AI that I should know? That's really important. Bernadette?
I'm going to bring up critical thinking. We haven't quite referred to that yet, and studies are showing that our students are demonstrating lower levels of critical thinking with the introduction of AI. And again, I think it has to do with how we, as educators and leaders, are using AI in the classroom and how it's kind of taking on its own life. And I think back to, the flipped classroom, and I think that we have to think about classroom practice as flipped classroom on steroids, where every time we have time with our students, it needs to be through that human interaction. Yes, the AI can be used for many different sources outside and within the classroom within a measured, again, approach. However, I think that we need to really instill and promote many different opportunities for our students to critically think, to have develop their metacognition about what it is that they're doing. And I think of examples because, first I will say myself as well, any social media feed that I open up, it's saturated with the next framework, with the next policy, with the next report on AI and education, right? And so, and I'm finding I can't keep up. And yet I know that within my role, I need to keep up, and I'm trying my best, to understand it. And then I use AI to help me to summarize some of those documents and then synthesize it for myself. But I think about, the more examples of use of AI in our classrooms, the better it is. And in the Peel District School Board, that is what we do. We're constantly trying to identify those artifacts, those examples of where things are happening well. Judith Nyman, one of the schools that has been open for the tour today, I was just speaking to the principal. I dropped there just before coming here. And he was sharing how AI right now is being used within the skilled trades. So for instance, within an automotive class, students are changing a tire. And so they're taking pictures because he hasn't yet figured out how to put video in there that's safe for student use and so on. So pictures of students changing the tire. And then in real time, the AI is providing guidance as to what is being done right and what is being done wrong. Same with engine repair and so on. It's same in culinary arts. And you have the final product of the cake that's been baked, take a picture, okay, and the AI can tell you kind of why it's flatter than it should be and so on. So real-time use, including, and that's another piece to bring up, the skilled trades. So that real-time feedback, I think, is going to be a really great place to go within the safeguards of our education so that we can manage it a little bit more. And that cognitive overload, right? The downloading that we're doing right now on AI is really releasing us of some of the stresses that we have, because then we can get to more. But it's interesting because as we're doing that, we're actually filling our space, not with the surplus now that we could do other things, but rather we're trying to do even more. So that's where the burnout is going to happen, and that's where the exhaustion, to the point that was made earlier, is going to happen. So we have to really temper that with ourselves and think about how that balance is going to be achieved, not just for our students, but also for ourselves. And again, thinking about things in a way that we are moving in a measured, in a calculated, in a thoughtful and meaningful way, so that we are embracing and leveraging AI in ways that are going to be the most meaningful.
Thank you so much for that. Any other thoughts on it and advice for Peter? Advice for our industry friends here who are problem solving, supporting districts, colleges, universities with their awesome tools and services.
I don't think the sector needs advice. They're all in a very innovative space. They're trying to solve EdTech challenges. So I love that part. And believe it or not, I have seen where we were leveraging business tools, trying to make them work in the classroom space. What happened in EdTech for the last 10 plus years, it's been an amazing space, so love that one. My advice to folks who work in this sector is around just taking that measured approach to whatever you're going to take on, And I always look at every investment we make through the ROI. What's going to be the real investment coming back to the ecosystem when we go in this space itself? Some of the research data also changed my thinking on adoption side of things when Gartner came back saying, if you get everyone a example, we just Copilot, give it to your staff members, and they get 42 to 46 minutes back a day. That was their research. And then they asked the question as leaders saying, what happens in those 45 minutes now? Is that a latte time? Or it's now being put back as a productivity? So think about that question. Second data set that changed my mind was around, they said, everyone who's working on their internal LLMs, 50% of your project's going to fail. So think about it. What are your business cases to take on these challenges? The third piece was by 2026, 82% of the business platforms, even in EdTech, will have AI built and baked into it. It's a good news, isn't it? But the cost is going to go up. And they were just guessing at that time it was around 30%. So you as leaders also get ready that the cost, money you need to put aside as part of these things coming in. So nothing is cheap. We hear all these wonderful news, so and so is building such a big data center. Guess who's going to be paying for it, right? So we need to just look at that lens and whatever investment you're ready to make, saying what's going to be the true ROI for me, my space, my business, or my school boards and classrooms. School boards are not just big high schools. These are enterprise shops. And when I say enterprise shops, we are a $3.6 billion burn for taxpayers, right? So you need to have that business approach to these critical pieces. And AI does not come cheap when you actually build some of those things in houses and some of the monies you need to put aside to deliver on those things on an ongoing basis. That's what I just wanted to be prepared, do those analyses up front, make sure you know your expectations, and look at that return on investment up front. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Speaking of stats, KPMG came out with a recent study around AI usage in post-secondary. 77% of students are using AI. 72%, or I might have that reverse, 77% want to be taught how to use it properly. They want a micro-credential course. There's an opportunity right there. Upskilling students, providing the tools to help them upskill so that they can use it equitably and ethically. So lots to chew on. As we approach our the end, I can't believe this flew by. We could have had another hour at this, but I'd like to field a question or two from the audience because I'm sure there's some pent-up questions in the audience, or do we cover everything? Right here? Hang on. And then we'll take one more. So if anyone wants to post another question. Okay, over to you.
My name is Mukesh. I work in the corporate world. So my question is, how do you infuse the skills that will be needed in this age? Like I'm talking about creativity, leadership, empathy, ethics, critical thinking. I think you touched upon most of them. And most of the repetitive and kind of routine tasks will be taken over by AI. So you need students to be more creative and have that entrepreneur mindset to kind of, come out, because there won't be jobs lying there, for the people who are just graduating out.
Thank you.
So I'll start. So in New Brunswick, we actually started to look at our high school program and recognizing that more than 40% of the students weren't engaged in their studies. So there's one thing getting them to come to school, which is a challenge in itself, but if you're there and you're not engaged in your studies, what's the point? So we've actually completely flipped our high school program in the last 2 years to give them pathways so that it's more interesting, it's more real world, they have the opportunity to challenge for credit either at community college or at university in a lot of different spaces. And it's really to give them that real world experience, either through co-op or other experiential learning opportunities. So it's not about rote memory. It's not about sitting in a classroom with desks, although there's still lots of that too. It's really, if you're not going to go off to university, why are you in the calculus class? Unless you need that. So it's about figuring out what you might want to do and taking that pathway. That's the approach that we've taken, so that it does give the opportunity for those who want to be entrepreneurial or want to go off to a certain vocation. They can do it, and they can start preparing from grade 9 onward.
Thank you for that.
I can give one more example.
Sure.
With what we're doing in Peel District School Board is, again, smashing the stigma for the skilled trades, because we need many people to go into the skilled trades. So critical is we offer certifications. So we are partnering with many different companies through support from our governance office as well as our IT department, and then offering certifications for students. So for instance, Google certification for data analytics, for instance, and then that goes on their LinkedIn profile. Right? So it's something that is supporting students to develop those skills that businesses are looking for, and many, many businesses now are offering these certifications for free, or you negotiate as a district, which is what we're doing, and just opening up more trajectories that way.
Everything we're doing right now is for the students. I'd be intrigued to know whether any one of those 4 students has a question for us. That's your test. Come on. Take up the challenge.
I always taught my kids to have at least one question.
Here we go.
Give them the mic. Yes.
Don't be shy.
So we talked a lot about how AI is used for regular students and assistant teachers. But I was just wondering what the impact would be for the outliers, right? So like neurodiverse students, and other people who are disabled or have a disadvantage. Like, how can we help them with AI as well?
Great question. It has a lot of potential to be an equalizer, right? So who wants to chime in on that?
I'd be happy to start. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
I'll mention quickly that one of the ways is to go with voice. The minute you go with voice, whether you have some problems as far as dexterity, typing, and everything else, if you are illiterate, you can still talk. So that's why I do think that the future of AI is voice as well.
I think AI can be very empowering for students with disabilities and with other challenges. I also just wanted to mention, in terms of accessibility, that some students don't even have access to a computer at all, or any equipment, and membership and subscriptions cost money. So I think we need to think of it collectively in terms of policy making, how to make sure that everybody has equal access. And I also oh, sorry, I lost my my last thought.
It's okay.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Let's have a round of applause for our panelists. Remarkable. Inspiring. This is just the beginning. Thank you for setting the tone. No pressure for the rest of the presenters. So we have a reception. This is really about human connection. Right? It's human-centered learning. It's about human connection. I actually have do we want to show the book? Do we want to show I was hoping to have the book. Do we have can we show the book? We're going to give away a quantity of these books. That's my book, Being Human in the Age of AI, Harnessing Human Skills to Thrive in an AI-Inspired World. So we're going to give away 50 of those books, okay? So you've got to post on social media, comment, tag, hashtag EdTechCan25, and talk about, and post a photo, post your thoughts. We're crowdsourcing the final chapter of the C21 AI use case task force report. Karen Yamada, my partner in C21 Canada, our not-for-profit, is here, along with Tom D'Amico, who is our C21 CIO Academy ambassador, former director in Ottawa Catholic. There are a lot of VIPs in the room. You're all VIPs. We're all here to make an impact. So with that, I'm going to call upon Brett. We've got some gifts for our speakers. We have gifts for the previous presenters. They just were not quite ready for us. So we have a reception, followed by a sponsor speaker dinner. Invites went out. If people want to join us at Il Fornello, it's like a 5-minute drive. They have extra capacity, so you're welcome to come to Il Fornello for dinner at 7:30, but we have the reception for the next hour and a half, and really an opportunity to connect. Raise your hand if you're from industry partners, industry, K-12, and then post-secondary. We got post-secondary. We've got students. So really important. If I could just add my thoughts on how do you achieve digital transformation. If you are doing an event at your district, at your faculty, what have you, bring the ecosystem together. Don't just bring one group together. It doesn't work that way. Okay, you need representation of all stakeholders to make change happen. I've been at this a long time. Trust me, it works. Okay, so just don't laser focus on one group. Make everyone be a part of the journey, right? Like we are here, right? Does that work for you? Is everyone in? All right, let's have a round of applause and let's wrap it up. And thank you so much.